Writer's Life, place where you get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, where you get the truth about the writer's life. Found that really. Subscribe if you haven't already. Punch the like button. Tap the bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on one single uber exciting video. Yeah, this mic's. Don't forget to go to the store, www.vinzandri.com. Vinzandri.com. VINZANDRI.com for all your thriller needs. And also to pick up the new course, Writer's Life Mindset Lecture Series, Volume 1. It's worth it for you. If you buy direct, it's $120, $125, $127. If you go off of Amazon, $147. It's underpriced. So I'd get yours now. Buy direct and save. Better pitch? All right. Enough of my shilling. So I read a really interesting article about Lawrence Block, who, one of my heroes, one of my literary heroes. He's like 84 now, old enough to be my dad. Doesn't mean anything anymore. Look at Ringo and Paul. They're out there playing. They're like the same age. Mick Jagger. He's like 83 too, isn't he? 81. I don't know. Anyway, but Lawrence Block is still writing his little tail off. Thank God. But here's the big reveal, the big secret in this article I read. Now, this is coming from a major industry player. This guy started in the 50s. He's like one of the last remaining icons, like one of the last remaining, like you can be sitting in a restaurant and he's in the corner with his wife maybe or something like that. And you might whisper to whoever you're with, like, that's Lawrence Block. Like, one of the last remaining writers you're going to recognize as like a celebrity, since that really doesn't happen anymore. Some writers get to be celebrities, I guess, still, but if that's the case, then they're already have earned celebrity status, say like a Joe Rogan or Greg Gutfeld or Kat Timpf or any of those news people, broadcasters or something like that, or a politician like Hillary or Uncle Joe. What? Bidenomics is working. No, it's not, Joe. We're all broke. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. But his big secret was, even back in the 50s and 60s, he said he and a lot of his fellow New York City writers would get together like once a week, twice a week, whatever. And as he says it, like with glass in hand. And he said it was, he said like they were all writers, all freelance writers. And he said they were getting paid by the word. And he's like, he's like, we used to have such deep, lengthy conversations rather, that he said it was almost like we were getting paid, by the word when we weren't even at our typewriters, which I thought was interesting. And he said, even back then, we more or less looked at the publishers as, he said, not necessarily as our enemies, but sort of a necessary evil, because they had printing presses and they could distribute your book to bookstores, and you really had no other choice. And he said that he was looking forward to the day where he could bypass the publisher altogether and become his own publisher. And lo and behold, the guy starts doing this stuff like in either the late 70s or the early 80s. And he looked at it like the way I look at indie publishing. Um, the majority of my indie books and stories and novellas are products that a traditional publisher would never want anyway. First of all, like a short story is too small. I mean, I could send it out to like Agatha Christie or any of those, but I don't have the patience for it, and I can make the $50 they're going to pay it or $200 they're going to pay it, up. I can make that amount of money on the story even before, in the time it would take for them to actually accept the story and publish it. So to me, it doesn't make sense. And no, I don't need the publicity value at this point. Novellas, too small. Short novels, too small. Your novel's got to be minimum 60,000 words. I remember I had a publisher once. This was for, I think it might have been The Caretaker's Wife at the time. Now it's called The Caretaker in its second edition. And the publisher was like, "You owe me 10,000 words." I was like, "I do? Really?" And so like I sat down and like I think in 2 days I banged out the extra 10,000 words. But I waited like a week and a half to send it back to them because I didn't want them to think I shit it out like so fast. Because they get nervous when you do, if you're that fast, they get really nervous. But I wrote the 10,000 words really quickly, and he was like, "Oh, great! No, this is fine, awesome. All right." So there it was, and it neither hurt nor helped the novel. The extra 10,000 words. It's just, I just made them fit. In any case, and some of the subject matter would not be, would not be seen as helpful to the publisher. They would not be seen as marketable. They wouldn't be able to identify an audience for it. So therefore, I independently publish it under Paramedia. I got like pause-itis today. Like I keep pausing in my sentences, just like I just did there. I think it's because sometimes when I take a nap and then like write a little bit, I'm like in a fog afterwards. So anyway, bear with it. Bear and grin. Grin and bear. But I was surprised by that. I guess that's the point of this, of today's episode, is that authors were, as far back as the 50s, 60s, and probably 70s, talking about how much they wanted to be their own publisher. Some of them, anyway. Some of the big guys, which I don't know. I was really surprised at that. And Lawrence Block said, like he was like enormously pleased when the Amazon released the Kindle and Kindle publishing program, and Nook did their thing. He was like super on board, and he immediately put out 40 products that were just hanging around. 40 products, boom. And he priced everything around $2.99, $3.99, and some people were like, "Oh, people will pay more for a Matthew Scudder PI novel," and he's like, "I know, but I want to reach a wider audience." And so I think that's cool. That's what I do. I price my stuff around $2.99, $3.99. When it's brand new, $4.99. Actually, what I do when I'm going through this 30-day cycle with Amazon is I publish it for a couple of weeks at 99 cents just to get on like the hot new bestseller lists, and that's publicity, and that's the kind of publicity I could use, stuff like that. So but it's just amazing. Like, here's a guy 85, I'm 59, and we're like thinking exactly along the same lines. And I mean, let's face it, all Lawrence Block has to do is he could call Penguin or Hachette like today, this afternoon, and say like, "I got like 3 books for you, and I want, I don't know, $150,000. How's that sound?" Like, they'd probably be like, "Sure, no problem. We'll do a hardcover release. We'll have a party down at the mysterious bookstore, and we'll be all set." But like he says, He's like, "Are my indie books or any single independent book of mine going to make me rich? No, but they will sell, and they will sell consistently, and they will sell forever, as opposed to a traditionally published book, which it'll sell for a little bit, and then that's it. They'll just let it go." And he also added, no single traditional indie book or no single traditionally published book is going to make me wealthy either. So you might as well indie publish it, retain the intellectual property, and have it selling even 2 or 3 copies. And that's what he said, even 2 or 3 or 5 copies a month forever. And I agree with him. And the more books you have out there, the more products, the more money you're going to make. So that's all I got to say. And I'm sure it's funny because, like, when I was in writing school back in the 90s, you wouldn't even mention publishing like this. It would have been like verboten. They would have shunned you. They would have kicked you out. And now it's like all the rage. Well, it only makes sense because we're down to 4 publishers. Like when I started out, there were like 50 publishers, maybe. I mean, and you could work with some of the medium to small publishers, which I also do. But you're only going to get like $3,000 to $5,000 advance, and then they always sort of make sure you don't get any more than the advance. I'm having trouble with one publisher right now, trying to get my rights back, because they're like undercutting the price so much. I'm only getting like 2 cents a sale, and they're not pushing the books. So anyway, that's for another day. All right. I'm waiting to hear from a guest I might have tomorrow or Wednesday, something like that. And I'll be working on getting at least 1 or 2 guests per week because I'm getting a lot of great feedback on that. People like those episodes rather than hearing me rant for 10 minutes. But I like to do this anyway. All right, you guys, I will catch you tomorrow. And if we are having a guest tomorrow, I'll put it up on social media so that if you want to watch it live, you can watch it live, or you can watch it after work. All right.